wanted to write this review while the movie was still fresh in my mind. I just finished watching The Beyond, a 1981 horror movie by famed Italian filmmaker Lucio Fulci. The movie is a little incoherent, odd shit happens at random, and evidently you can just honk at a woman while in traffic, flash a cheese grin at her, and that's enough to get her to have a drink with you. Is the movie gory? Yes, kind of cringy gory, but I've seen a lot worse. I'd classify it as not so much a grindhouse, but more of an art house piece with exploitative undertones tossed in it. I've sat through some shit-ass movies in my day. Some were so bad that I just had to go back for a second helping just to be comfortable in my opinion. This movie wasn't the worst, it wasn't the best, but it's probably been largely forgotten considering it was released at a time when the slasher genre was on its meteoric rise to the top of the horror world. But it has since gained a bit of a cult following, with some people having actually gone as far as to claim this to be one of the best horror movies ever made. The plot revolves around a young woman, Liza, who inherits an old hotel in New Orleans. It's run down, looks like it should be torn down, but she persists in getting it renovated and open to the public. Decades earlier in the same hotel, an odd-looking man is painting a weird landscape in his rented room. A bunch of cars and boats pull up to the front, and about a dozen men storm the hotel and lynch the guy, and crucify him in the basement. It was pretty fucked up. All in the name of religious purity. We also see a young woman reading from a book called the Ebon, which is like the Book of the Dead. Lightning and thunder crash the house repeatedly, and the guy being hammered to the wall in his dying breaths before they dump some kind of milky-looking toxic acid on his face warns his tormentors that all mankind will die unless they allow him to live, which, of course, they don't. Fast forward to the present, you never really get what is going on. A painter sees the woman with the white eyes and he falls off his scaffolding. A plumber is hired to fix the flood in the basement. He hammers through a wall and a hand pops out and squashes his face. We do learn from the white-eyed lady, who is evidently blind, that the hotel was built on top of one of the 7 gates to hell. And since it's been left unguarded for decades, any disturbances will awaken the evil forces and they will come and wreak havoc on mankind. That's about as much plot as we're given. The rest of the movie, in its odd art house way, jumps from one scene to the next with not much in the way of structure or cohesiveness. Music blares out at weird times to accentuate the scene. The architect hired by Liza to help with the renovations goes to the public library to find the original engineering schematics and blueprints to the hotel. He falls from a ladder while looking at a layout in the book, lands with a thud, and then, what the fuck? A horde of tarantulas comes out of nowhere. They climb aboard and start eating his face. Man, I hate spiders. I pushed my chair back in shock and thought, fuck no, we were doing just fine until now. The movie doesn't really do a good job to hold your attention, and there were several times where I was just going to scrap it and see what was happening with NHL free agency, but I came this far and I was going to ride it out. Moving on, the film continues jumping around. We see a young girl who looks kind of like the Wendy's Burger Girl. Her eyes turn white after seeing her mother killed in the morgue. Do not entry? Oh well. Then at about 20 minutes to go in the movie, they bring on the zombies, and John, the traffic smiler, who has become interested in Liza, gets trapped with her in the morgue and they have to fend off a horde of them. End of the movie, they go through what was purported to be the 7th gateway to hell and find themselves in a vast barren wasteland with no means of escaping, with bodies of the dead laying all around them. So between spiders, zombies, poor spelling, and people rising out of tubs full of shit water, this movie seemed to have something for everyone. Does it entirely deserve that 67% rating on Rotten Tomatoes? Well, I don't know. These movies are always kind of hit and miss with me. I managed to sit through it and write this glowing, lukewarm think piece about it, so that's about as good as it's going to get from me, I suppose. But don't take my word for it. You might see something I didn't and consider it a masterpiece. If I happen upon a Blu-ray version of the movie, I'd certainly buy it for the collection. It wasn't that bad. And I guess it would be kind of redundant to have all the Slumber Party Massacre movies and not this one. Just saying.